Can't hear you.
Welcome.
We're back on the show here, and we're very happy to have. We're having a great show today.
Yes,
and
we did have a good show today.
And we're still having it. We're still having it.
So maybe you couldn't hear us before.
But you don't know that because we're going to fix it all in editing. But we're very happy to be welcoming Tom Gannon Hamilton to the show from somewhere.
Dr. Tom Gannon, but I was saying Gannon because I thought
she's from Montreal, so she thought it was Gannon.
So I was giving you a little flair there. but welcome. He's got his mute.
Tom's on mute. You're on mute. We're on mute. Everybody's on mute. Now you're unmuted, I think, Tom. No, you got to unmute yourself, Tom. We can't hear you. Yeah, just unmute it.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, good.
Yeah, now we can hear you.
That thing, that button, it's hard to tell where you're standing with it,
I know. It's either muted or not muted.
Sometimes it's got a line through it, And you want...
I can never figure out what that means.
It's like, like sometimes you see a line through a dog or something, right? Does that mean no dogs or no Scotty dogs? Because it always just looks like a Scotty dog, I'm saying, so no Scotty dogs allowed here,
Well, I remember when I was in kindergarten, grade 1, Tom, you get your work back from the teacher to have a check mark.
Yeah, I know.
Or it'd have a wrong, an X, or it'd have a little C. I don't know. Somehow I had little C's.
Yeah.
So then one day I go, so I'm learning all these things. Okay, so the X means bad, the check mark means good, the C means good. And one day I got it back for the teacher, and the whole page had a big line through it. And I go, I hope that's good.
That means you were clear.
I had to ask the teacher. She gave me an ambiguous answer. I still didn't know.
Yeah,
I guess
you were clear.
that means
that's what
good.
that meant. For the longest time,
yeah,
when
fantastic.
I was in grade 2, my teacher in Vancouver, she used to leave little notes at the top of my work, which of course was always terrible. And she would sometimes put a little sticker like a star or a robin or something like that, and I think that was pretty good. But this time, she said she wrote "See me." So I'm sitting in my desk and I look up at her and I see her. So I'm seeing her at the desk and I think, okay, I see you. That's all I needed to do was to see you. And, how you take things literally. I didn't think I had to come and talk to her after or something.
Dude.
I just had, I could see you. You know?
Okay. I got to tell one more little story then. This is from nursery school.
You sure we want to hear this story?
Nursery school. Well, this is nursery school. So there was one of the teachers there. She was like Dutch or something, right? So she had an accent, right? And so it's like she goes. One day she goes to me. She goes, "Why don't you go over and find a book?" A book, and I'm going. I don't know what a book is. I know what a book is, but I don't know what a book is. You know what I'm saying? I'm still traumatized.
But that's like
from that experience.
I moved to Detroit with my family, Detroit, Windsor. I was over in Detroit when I was 14. I started going under the river to Detroit, and I was going to the International Youth Symphony Orchestra, which was really cool because I got a chance to see, to meet and to play music with all sorts of people from across the river. And coming through Detroit back in the late 60s, early 70s. There was a lot of it still burnt out and what have you, Well,
from that black day in July.
But, the thing is, that's what it took, right? Because it started to open people's eyes. At that age 14, I was starting to wonder about a lot of things. I didn't really think that I had been told a lot of truth. And I got a hold of the Black Power Revolt. It was a compilation anthology. And it had Malcolm X, the writings of Malcolm X in it. And it talked about of course, it's Malcolm X's autobiography, where he talks about how his father was killed by police in Lansing, you see. And a lot of people, when he was cornered and they beat him unconscious and they laid him over the tracks and they cut him in half. And then his family was left in Nebraska, where they lived, at the mercy of the White Riders, the Western version of the Ku Klux Klan, and they just about burnt them out. Social workers came. That's we're talking about the Reverend J. Little. That was Malcolm X's father, and he was a Garveyite. And you see, so that he was persecuted on many different levels, right? Many different levels. But the thing is that Malcolm X was the youngest of that family. So when you start to look at the history and you start to look at what's happening right now, and the consciousness that people are going to have to finally have, I mean, back in the late 60s, we used to think things are going to change, and this systemic racism is going to have to end, right? And then we can get together, because I was already in that domain where everybody's focused on making music, if you see what I'm saying. And so that was a door opener for a lot of people, and it was an opportunity as well to develop discourses between people, right? But the point that I wanted to make about what that was, that Malcolm X, the story of Malcolm X is something that goes back, into the history, that goes into Garveyite history, goes into Marcus Garvey, goes into, you see. And so, and then when we find ourselves today, we can't be without our history. You see what I'm saying? It's the history is so important. And so you want to talk about music. Is that what you want to talk about today?
Well, because this is Let's get into the music, Tom. Okay, but first of all, I know you're from Windsor, Ontario. I didn't know you were out in Vancouver in the early days, but
Windsor was part of it. Yeah.
But well, it's interesting. I didn't realize that, because I know you play the violin. I know you're you do a lot of music, including producing and performing on records and stuff like that. I didn't realize that you were such a talent at such a young age that you were going over to Detroit, a part of the youth symphony there. So that's an amazing.
That's something that I didn't really reflect on too much, because to me it was just normalized. You know what I'm saying? If you were impassioned to do something, if you had the discipline and the passion to do something, right?
Yeah.
If it was a devotion of yours, you could start at any age, right?
Well, how old did you start playing the violin?
I was 9 when I was introduced to it, but I had already had singing lessons, piano lessons. The singing was good. I like that, and percussion. My dad was a drummer, and he was a violinist, and he had not a bad voice as well. So that music was that was natural, normal in the family, right? To play music, But I turned pro at age 14. I joined the American Federation of Musicians. Back in the day when that had some teeth and it meant something, right? And then worked on both sides of the river, because in those days it was possible to do that. You could work in the States and Canada, and there was a good deal going with because of the AFFM had this thing going in Canada and the States. Then you could work as a musician both sides, moving freely across the border. They knew you were coming. You had the papers. Everything was fine, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah. So you must have played Cobo Hall at some point.
I never played Cobo Hall, but I played some pretty good places in Detroit. I played Jerry Shannon's Rooster Tail down there on the river. I played Baker's Keyboard Lounge at one time. I had some pretty good gigs in Detroit.
Okay, amazing.
I played a lot of jazz. I played a lot of R&B, right? There was a great R&B band called Thunder Company at the time. And
what was your instrument in the R&B? Were you playing violin or something?
I played electric violin through a Barkus Berry, and put it through the chorus and the overdrive and reverb, and all of those effects used to string them together, right? You didn't have it in one unit box, right? And that's the way it used to be. I also played congas, and I was also asked to sing, because I had maintained my soprano voice, and because when you're singing any kind of group ensemble singing, like doo-wop or anything like that, street corner singing, whatever you want to call it, you want the vocal range. You want every one of these voices represented, right?
So can you still do the soprano now?
craving your body.
Okay, dude, is that a falsetto though?
Well, I mean, you see, the thing is, everybody sings in falsetto. The trick is going between falsetto. Right?
Yes,
it's like,
that's the trick.
And your regular voice, or regular, you like go for tenor to soprano, or you know, I mean, you know, you'd be like, what your hands do is your positive scene. So won't you judge your actions to make sure the results are clean? It's your own conscience that is going to remind you that it's your heart, nobody else's, that is going to judge. You know.
Okay, so so what's your regular voice? Is it a tenor or an alto or what?
So, well, it would be a baritone tenor, and often when I'm singing, if I'm singing in front of a big band or a small ensemble that's playing the crooner classics, American songbook sort of stuff, then you know it's an entirely different approach, right? Those fingers through my hair, that sly come hither stare, that strips my conscience bare, it's witchcraft. You know, it's an entirely different feel, right? But you know, all these musics that we know, that we recognize as popular music, they're all African American, Afro Caribbean, Afro Latin, right? You know what I'm saying? You know, this is where we got our music. Our music comes completely out of the mixing of cultural elements, right? All the way through, all the way down the line, you know? And even before that.
DBoss, go.
Yes.
DBoss.
I want to ask you something. You write your own music, correct?
I do. I write it, I perform it, but I also record it. I recently recorded the soundtrack for Donna Langevin's great play that just, I guess I can't announce that it's won an award, but I can't announce that yet. Apparently it's not allowed, but it has. And we've been given the great opportunity to have a super producer from Ryerson and a cast. We have everything lined up. And, you know, the thing is, right now, everything is becoming production of one sort or another, you know, and full production, which is what we do here, you know, which is that channel, or it could be anything that you're doing in a studio where you take the care, you know, that you have for centuries to actually compose things. And I guess that's really what I want to say, is that for me, it's all composition. Every day is composing, is putting things together, selecting elements, and then putting them together in different ways.
All right. So your music, Tom, so your music comes from, you know, is it from life experiences, or where does your music come like, how do you, you know, put things together?
Well, you know, I identify with anybody who has this experience where the music is assisting them in their daily life's movements, right? That the music has to in some way be there all the time. It has been for me all of the time. I thought that this was the case for everybody, and maybe it is for the majority of people, especially when we're younger. But there was a soundtrack going all of the time for me. Music was always being put to whatever was happening in the life world, you know. And it still is. I mean, I wake up with music in my head. Some of it is original, and some of it is very long-standing stuff. You know, stuff that's been around for a long time.
So, Tom, what's your most memorable moment of your career that you've done something? Can you tell everybody?
Oh, I think my favorite moment was meeting B.B. King, and having a chance to open with Big Rude Jake and the Gentlemen Players, opening for B.B. King at Lulu's back at that was quite a moment, because it's just simply the fact that I had gone to see B.B. King at the Ann Arbor Blues and Jazz Festival in 1974, and it was in exile. It was held in Windsor because the good people in Michigan, there in Ann Arbor, Michigan, decided that they didn't want the noise. You see what I'm saying?
What?
Yeah.
BB King?
Yeah, they didn't want the greatest living blues legends in the world to be taking up any of their precious quiet time.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, in that quiet little university town. But you know, the thing is, this is racism, right?
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. And you see, anybody would see that a lot of racism people get away with according to taste. You know, they could say they say, okay, it's just my taste. Well, it's not to my taste, right? So then you can erase and you can diss whatever you want as long as you say, oh, that's not to my taste. You see what I'm saying? So if you can say, oh, we don't want this noise, it's because of the noise. Is it because of the noise?
Well, it seems like it's a little bit of a hidden agenda back then in that time. Well, things are still happening in this time too, but
Yeah.
it seems like it's how they said that is the taste and the noise.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously when you're having a concert or any kind of band of some sort, there's going to be a lot of noise, or not noise, but music coming out of the speakers.
Yes.
So that was outright slight right there.
I guess there's the number of times that I feel that I was very fortunate. You know, first of all, my parents helped me with music, but the fact is that a person like BB King is not just a big person in terms of what they've accomplished. That is really, it's the making of a soul, which takes your entire life to develop. You know, when Mahalia Jackson died, I was talking to an African Canadian pastor, Baptist pastor, right? And we were talking about that fact that the soul is something that you develop, you nurture it, you tend it, you pay attention to it, right? This is really what's meant by having a spiritual life, That spiritual dimension is an active, dynamic thing, It's something in development, right? And so that music is definitely connected to that. And we now know from the neurophysiology, the studies in neurophysiology, that the hippocampus, that part of the brain, is where you are experiencing. You're getting synapses are firing, and you're getting the neurochemical prostaglandin sent to that part, and what you experience is curiosity, awe, wonder, a sense of deep, profound connectedness, a sense of profundity, a sense of all of those things, and creativity, creative inspiration, nature, religion, and art are all part of that.
Well, Tom, we want you to, you have your violin there.
I do.
And we want you to play something, since you're talking about that creativity and music and where that stuff. So people want to hear something from you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was thinking as well. I was thinking as well about all of my friends in the Caribbean, because I've been going to the Caribbean. I've been going either to the Antilles or Barbados or any. Used to like to go as well to Cayman Islands, but my soul is very much always in the Caribbean, and I think it's true for a lot of Canadians. And
especially this time of year.
Yeah. Well, that's not to be dismissed. I mean,
Tom, you got snow on the ground, right? Why don't you
that?
just show the snow you got out your window there, just so people know that you're not in the Caribbean right now.
But guess what? I got so much wood on the fire. There's a pot-bellied stove here.
Yes,
I got so much wood on that thing. This is like it's a dry sauna in this room, right? This is why I'm able to.
Look, you got the bright sun coming reflected off the snow. You're wearing your wife beard.
I mean, here, just a second. I'll show you something.
See, look, snow. Look at that.
Oh, God.
Snow,
Look
trees,
at that.
Rocks, water.
Yeah. Well, it's nice. The lake's not frozen yet, but okay.
No.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Anyway,
tank top.
It's really good, I mean, and I want to thank you for having me on, but I also want to thank everybody who's tuning in. I want to thank everybody who's part of this community that's being built. Online television is the most promising and the most important technological human interface that we can have at this time. It gives us an opportunity to present our work exactly as we want it to be presented. And that's way, way better than a lot of, I'm not going to diss anything, but there are a lot of other kinds of technologies that don't really deliver for the artist or for the listener. Because, right, this interaction between the viewing audience you know, and the performer is the key thing, right? Here, I want to show you some of what percussion drumming was my first instrument, right? You know, so now this is a djembe that I'm playing here.
Djembe.
But, you know, in the Caribbean, there's the sun, the drum, healing, Nyabinge, she who possess, that the whole continuity of what was going on in West Africa that carried on in the Caribbean is carried on largely through the drum and the practice of using the drum. African beats are 2 and 3, right? So they work in syncopated ways like this. So I got to stop talking and just do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the thing is that these rhythms, a lot of these rhythms, there were work rhythms as well, right? You know this one? Remember this one? That is that's a boat pulling song. That's a boat pulling song.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't know it, but I don't know.
I was thinking about those. Yeah. Hey, I got a question though, because the other thing,
yeah,
about drumming and in the West African traditions is the that it can actually, and it's been proven scientifically, whatever, it can put people into a trance.
Oh yeah. Well, in fact, this has been my experience all my life. In fact, I got into trouble in school because I went into that trance. I had a first grade teacher who was really not prepared to teach us phys ed. So when she got us moving around this is in the wintertime, moving around inside the auditorium, I could not remain in that place in quite the same way that other people were, or at least the way the teacher was. And the teacher was no longer able to connect with me, and I was humming, you see. I was humming, and I had this music in my head, and I was humming it, and I went into this trance because the rhythm of the movement was associated with it, was synergetically connected to that, right? So that synergy is there. I think it's there for a lot of younger people. And I think schooling can crush it, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe some people it does. It never crushed it for me, but I had a lot of trouble with all kinds of institutional arrangements that require that you tune out of that connection, you know, that deep connection of the sensual connection with the world that also feeds music, feeds the rhythm, and feeds the sense of melody and structure and notation, right? That you're also hearing, right?
Okay, cool. We got about 5 minutes left. I'm just,
Okay, you want to hear some fiddle?
Yes.
Yeah, we definitely want to hear some fiddle. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This is, you know, in Jamaica, a lot of people used to play this music called bento. It came before calypso. It actually means wind in Spanish, as in vento.
Oh yeah,
ventilation, bento. Right? Yeah, bento. That's why they call it bento. But bento has to do with the wind, right? It was the dance music. But you don't. I'm saying that because fiddle was a major bento instrument, right? And in calypso, it tended to go out of it. But you know, in a lot of Latin and soca and what have you, I mean, I can go and I can play And I had a friend in Antigua who made a beautiful pan, steel pan for me. But all the structure of playing is transferable. Here, I'll give you an example. You know, horn
Yeah.
section. You know what I'm saying? Horn section.
That was
Horn
That
section.
was fun.
Horn section.
So, Tom,
play a lot of that music. Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of time left here, but I know you do so much musically. And in fact, I'm going to show DBoss after, because we're working with Nadia High on some great tunes and stuff like that. I'd love to get her here on the show at some point as well.
Yeah.
But what are you working on these days musically? And I know I've seen you performing, in Irish pubs on St. Patrick's Day and stuff, but it seems like you can do almost anything musically.
Yeah, because it's like being social, right? I mean, we don't just belong to one social group. I mean, we have lots of social connections with people everywhere, right? And it's always a very telling thing when you're in any kind of cultural situation and they just simply consider you one of theirs. That's always one of the most beautiful things, because then you realize, that you're not the only one who feels like you're getting something out of that exchange. You know what I'm saying? So it's a big difference. It's not like appropriation is something that happens where it's one-sided, where somebody walks away with somebody else's traditions and their culture, right? And has their way with it, whatever that happens to be, right? And that's a violation, right? But then you have this other situation where it's mutual and everybody's getting something out of it. Artists are getting something out of it by collaborating with one another, and cultures are getting something out of it on both sides of it through that collaboration as well. So it's a win-win-win-win-win-win situation, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So what am I doing recently? Yeah, I'm writing. I did produce the soundtrack for John Alongevin's play, which takes place in Montreal at the end of the potato famine, when there were millions of Irish people. And you would know about this because you're a Riley, and I'm from Montreal. Gannon, it's actually Gannon, not Gagnon, but it's Gannon, it's Irish. And you see, like, there was a genocide, and it was created by the English, and it happened in 18. The worst of it was in 1847.
Hey, Tom.
That's what the play's about.
Okay, well, people
I wrote the music. Yeah, I wrote the music.
Okay, we just need some. Listen, we got 10 seconds left. Where can people get in touch with you?
Okay, you can contact me at my email, because that's the easiest. It's drtomhamilton@gmail.com. That's Dr. Tom Hamilton at gmail.com. You can contact me anytime. I'm always happy to talk to anybody, right, about anything that they might want. Yeah.
Okay, Tom. And we're going to get you back and talk about your book, so maybe you can hang tight after the end of the show. And that's it, boss. We got to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Take care
we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Cheers.
All right.